Hi, and welcome back to It's Not Rocket Science. 5 questions over coffee. Get my hand into the camera properly so you can see the 5 questions. I'm Stuart Webb, the host, and I'm here today with Jeff Standridge. Jeff is an innovation junkie. He's founder of Innovation Junkie. He's helping his customers to be more innovative and to help them to produce innovation in their businesses. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Welcome to It's Not Rocket Science, 5 questions over coffee. Jeff, I hope you're there with a drink in front of you.
Yes, thank you so much, Stuart. It's great to be here today. I appreciate it.
No problem. So Jeff, tell me a little bit about the sort of customers you help and how you help them to be more innovative, but how you also help them to sort of, standardize that as part of their business operation.
Sure. So we actually serve two different segments of customers. One is the startup segment, and we do that in a specific geography, the state of Arkansas, within the United States, because we have sponsored funding to be able to provide that types of resource to them, funded from the US federal government and the state government, to be able to provide that kinds of work. We work with larger companies, call it 5 million to 500 million, independent of location, all around the world. And we help them challenge the status quo through some very focused innovation exercises, but also to help them build out a strategic growth plan and implement a system around the actual execution of that plan.
And what are the things that some of your customers, I mean, let's look at those people that you have to challenge the standard, the status quo at the moment, Jeff. What is it they've tried before which maybe hasn't worked, and that you bring as a different way of thinking to them and make them look at things in a different way?
Well, generally, everyone says they want to grow, and they either want to grow their revenue, or they want to grow their profit, or they want to grow their cash flow. But many times they don't have a system to actually execute on that growth. And so that's one of the challenges is they want to generate sustained growth, but they don't really know where to start.
Yeah, it's often a problem, isn't it? I do a lot of that sort of work with customers as well, and not only do they not know where to start, but some of them have this belief that somehow it's magic. It just happens when it happens, and actually it doesn't just happen when it happens. You have to be systematic about it, don't you?
You absolutely do have to be systematic, and if we're not planning for that growth, the likelihood that we're going to be successful in spite of ourselves is not very great.
Yeah, deliberate strategic action is really important, isn't it?
For sure, for
And
sure.
and sometimes that deliberate action is very often sort of founded on people sort of maybe not knowing where they're going, but deciding they're going to go somewhere anyway.
That's right. I
Can
completely
you
agree with
can you give us an example of somebody you've helped to who's been in that situation, and how you've helped to move them forward?
you. Sure. So, worked with an insurance group, an insurance agency, and independent agency representing multiple insurance carriers. Actually became an investor in this group, and the organization had been in existence for over a decade when we first started working with them, and but they really hadn't grown. They were really just paying the bills, paying the people, and continuing to kind of trade sideways, so to speak. We implemented a strategic growth system with them, and they now have 3 locations. They're growing at double digits. They own the real estate under all 3 of those locations. And they also, just over the course of the last, I don't know, probably 2 years, they have been able to transform their employment environment such that they've got multiple top talent in the industry coming to them saying, I want to go to work for you.
Yeah, and that's a really important part of anybody's growth strategy, isn't it? Is having access to those people that are going to help you to grow, that have got the behaviors, that have got the attitude. And I often think that that's one of the things that, as business owners, we fail to do often. We hire for skill, whereas we should be hiring for attitude and behavior.
That's right.
And training for skill, because skill can be taught, but behaviors, attitudes can't be taught that easily.
It's interesting. Jack Welch, who headed up GE a number of years ago, said that if you've got someone who is a cultural fit for the organization, but they're struggling to be successful, then you probably have the wrong combination of skills and job role. But if you've got someone who is successful in their job, but they're a cultural mismatch, you never should have hired them in the first place, and you're going to have to
Yeah.
get rid of them because they'll go
Yeah.
bad at that point, and they'll
Yeah.
take a lot of people with them.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely, and he was a great thinker in that way. So Jeff, I know, and I'm hoping that I've got this right. You've got some great resources that we can pull upon. So talk to us a little bit about some of that free resource that we can get. And I'm going to put the link here at the moment, and it's just simply your name,
That's right.
jeffstandridge.com/free-resources. Tell us a little bit about what we can
Yeah.
get there,
So
and how we can use that.
we've got a description of our strategic growth system there, and they can download the strategic growth system that we use with clients, that to really take them from where they are to where they ultimately want to go. It's not just a planning document; it's an actual implementation of a system. It systematizes the execution against that strategic growth. Be glad for them to pick that up.
Terrific. Jeff, there must have been something in terms of a course, or something which started you down this journey. What was that? What was that course or that journey that actually sort of made you realize that you could help companies become more strategic about their innovation and about their growth?
Years ago, I read a book by Jim Collins called Good to Great.
Oh, a great
And
book.
that book, Good to Great, and the rigor of the research behind that book, was really impactful to me. So I have a doctorate in leadership and organizational behavior, and so I kind of come at things a little bit academically, or I used to, not so much anymore. But the science behind his research really impressed me, and so I began implementing some of those things in the work that I do. And over the years, it kind of evolved. 25 years of doing mergers and acquisitions and running global operations for a publicly traded U.S. technology company in the UK, across Europe, and Asia, the Middle East, et cetera. And I decided about 8 years ago that I'd spent the first half of my life making a living. I wanted to spend the second half making a difference. And so I stepped out on my 50th birthday to do what I do today, and haven't looked back one day.
That's brilliant. I love that. And it really takes me to what I think is probably the best and last question that I can ask you. And that is, what's the question I've currently failed to ask you to now that must be the burning one that you think I just need to get this out of? So what is the question that I should have asked you? And obviously, once I've asked you that question, you really do need to answer it.
Sure. So, what are the patterns that you see in organizations that do achieve sustained strategic growth? So that's the question that I would say that we should have asked. And we talked a little bit about culture a few moments ago. And one of the things I've had the privilege of doing is working with hundreds of companies over the years. And my colleagues and I have identified 6 specific components that organizations that do achieve sustained strategic growth demonstrate. And those components, really, we've organized those into a framework we call the culture of excellence. You want to hear about them?
I certainly do. I was
All
hoping that you were
right.
going to say that.
Very good. Very good. It starts with strong leadership. Strong leaders, a team of strong leaders who are committed to the direction of the company, who are committed to systematizing the actual strategic growth plan that they have, and who are committed to surrounding themselves with people who are also bought into that direction.
Yeah.
Number 2, they ensure clarity and focus in the organization.
Yeah.
They know precisely where they're going, who they are, where they're going, how they're going to get there, and they make sure that their employees also understand how they contribute to that direction. They surround themselves with engaged and committed teammates. And number 4 is they engage in empowering communication. Empowering communication is communication that helps people become, the word empower, stronger and more confident in dealing with the circumstances they're facing. So they may have to have tough conversations, but they don't stop just at tough. After they have the tough conversation, they then try to convert that conversation into helping someone feel stronger and more confident in dealing with how to move forward. The 5th element is 100% accountability. In other words, everyone knows what they're responsible for, and they are 100% held accountable and submit themselves to being held accountable to deliver it. And then finally, the last item really comes from a comment by the great management philosopher Mike Tyson, who said, "Everybody has a plan until I punch them in the mouth." Organizational agility is the sixth element of a culture of excellence, where an organization can be knocked down, but they can get up more times than they've been knocked to the mat.
Jeff, those are some really powerful messages there. I mean, those 6 things, I absolutely identify with those. The number of organizations that I've come across who, the leadership might want to sort of embed a culture of excellence, but when it comes to the accountability, they shrink away. It
That's
just destroys everything unless you have all of those 6. And I think you're absolutely right. Although I must admit, I use a different planning, a plan which is no plan survives first contact with the enemy, which I guess is what Mike Tyson is telling us.
That's exactly right.
But, it's that accountability and clarity and communication. And those are the things that I've always thought are absolutely critical to every organization. And unless you get that accountability, clarity, and communication, no plan is ever going to work, and nobody's ever going to be agile, because nobody's going to tell you something's gone wrong, and you're going to carry on working as if everything was okay. That's the secret to organizational success, isn't it?
It really is. And a lot of leaders make a mistake of assuming that clarity exists in the organization.
Yeah, they do. They do. I spent a lot of time, like you, in sort of corporate troubleshooting, and nearly every organization I walked into to try and understand where things had gone wrong, somebody somewhere hadn't been clear. Somebody somewhere hadn't told somebody else what was wrong. And as a result, somebody was either not being held accountable for something, or being held accountable for something where the plan had drastically changed and nobody could work out what was going on. And in every single case, all that needed to start the process was for somebody to actually start can we be clear about what we're trying to do? And it's those conversations which eventually lead to great growth and great innovation, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen so many times where someone came up with a great idea in an organization, and they rallied throngs of people around that idea to try to implement it, and no one took the step to say, what's the problem we're trying to solve here, or what's the opportunity we're trying to seize? And if they did answer that, they didn't really try to quantify it to see if it was going to be worth the effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Jeff, we could and probably should spend many, many hours talking about this, but I have a feeling that business owners need to actually just go back and reflect upon some of this. And then obviously they can go back to jeffstandridge.com /free-resources and pull that information down and start doing it. And obviously, we'd welcome further conversations from anybody who's watching at the moment that wants to actually sort of get in and understand how that their organization can take advantage of some of those resources to grow. Jeff, thank you so much for spending just a few minutes with us, talking us through that stuff. It's been brilliant. I just want to point us towards one thing. If you want to get onto the mailing list, which allows us to tell you about when we have such brilliant guests like Jeff coming up, and to make sure that you can get the transcript that's going to be coming out of this podcast in the future, please go to this link, which is https://link.thecompleteapproach.co.uk/newsletter. Get onto that. You will then get notification of when this comes out as a transcript. You can read some of the great stuff that Jeff's just given us. You can find out once again where that resource is and go to that resource and pull it down and read some of the great ideas that Jeff has got. Jeff, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us. Really appreciate you spending a few minutes today. And I sincerely hope that we've got a few people out there that have rethought what they're trying to do with their business because they haven't got clarity, or they're not holding somebody accountable for something which has gone wrong in the organization.
I appreciate it, Stuart. It's been a pleasure. And if any of them want to reach out to me, I'm very active on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much. It's been an honor.
I will make sure that we get that LinkedIn, the LinkedIn link. Yeah, I think that's a word. LinkedIn link in the show notes. Jeff, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.